Hi all, Orientation Week Day 4, and today we're looking at strategies for motivation and success. So the first thing we need to do is to become willing. And if you're ready for change, then jump right in. You're welcome to, if you've signed up for Thrive Through Menopause program, you'll be able to download the handouts and start the suggestions that we have for you. And it's not an all or nothing proposition. If you've got access to the information, if you've joined the program and you think I can't take on all of these changes at once, then that's okay. We'll give you time to be able to work through those changes so that you can cement them into your daily life and they can become new habits for you. First off, we suggest start small. If you're changing lifelong habits, it does take a while, and you didn't get there overnight, so change won't happen overnight either. So be gentle with yourself. I think sometimes feeling overwhelmed by where to start is often the biggest problem. And so each week we give you manageable, specific ideas about where you might start. So the first thing perhaps to look at as well in the 5 steps to success is to work out what it is that you want for your life and focus on what you want to do rather than what you think you should be doing is a good suggestion. And often reflections like think about where you'd like to be in 6 months' time. That might actually also help you crystallize what it is that you want. And then once you've thought about that for a little while, maybe write down what it actually is so that you've recorded that somewhere, and perhaps you can add that to a vision board that we will talk about in a few slides' time. Deciding on a goal as well can be really useful, and of course you might want to change many aspects, but perhaps you want to start with one thing, and each week, as I mentioned, we go through different aspects. So you might want to focus on diet, or you might want to focus on stress. And so those weeks will really help you get very clear about what it is that you're changing. And then we need to be consistent. So finding a time and a place that we have every single day, whether it's, after you brush your teeth, or perhaps you do get into the car, or wherever it is that you choose to try and add or change the behaviors that you have, find that particular time each day. And then once you get more consistent with those changes, then they don't actually become something you necessarily have to think about. They just are all automatic. The idea to start small is a really, really good idea, so that if you decide, well, I want to sleep better, maybe you need to get to bed earlier. And sometimes that's not really easy, but perhaps you could start by going to bed 10 minutes earlier. And then, a couple of days later, you could make it 15 minutes earlier, so that you actually make manageable changes. And then by the end of the week, then, you've gone to bed half an hour earlier. That may not be where you might need to go to bed, an hour earlier, but then you've started the first step, which is actually changing that behavior and working towards that goal. Having a time frame. So as I mentioned, perhaps you want to go to bed earlier, and that might take you 2 or 3 weeks to get to the ideal time by shortening each night by perhaps 5 minutes. And that doesn't seem like very much at the time, but as you can see, if you keep doing it, you can build on that. You also might have started this program with a buddy. And so maybe you can check in with them and make some plans to get support, extra support around, meeting up, or perhaps speaking on a regular basis about the changes that you're making. And finally, the things to do, it really is important to celebrate your success and rate your success. So it's a great idea, again, to keep this on the fridge or somewhere that you can see it, so that you understand that you're moving towards a goal and you can actually see on paper what you're doing, or perhaps, virtually similar to what it would be if you had a pedometer and you decided that you needed to walk 10,000 steps a day. Well, perhaps you can only do 1,000 one day, but you can actually, on a daily basis, do an extra couple of hundred or an extra 1,000, and you can track it over time and actually see how you're improving. And that is a great motivator. Here are some words of encouragement for you. You might want to spend some time looking at this slide. One of my favorite sayings is, it's not the speed with which you're traveling, but the direction that you're facing. So making a decision to face in the direction that you want to end up is really important. Now, motivation, willpower, and rewards are also contributors to changing behavior. And if you're like many of us who've made a New Year's resolution, we, we often, and I found a statistic saying that 80% of us by mid-February have given up. And if that's familiar, then you're not alone. So harnessing willpower is not easy, and there are ways you can do that. And one of the ways is to find your why. Now, that might sound like an odd question, but this is where I tell my marathon story. So the marathon story was something that I heard in a conference one day, and we were in a very large room, and the presenter was talking about hands up anyone who could run a marathon. Well, I couldn't run a marathon tomorrow. I'd need to train for that. But the interesting part was that if we have the right motivation, then I believe all of us could run a marathon tomorrow, regardless of whether the training was there or not. So if we had a loved one who was deathly ill and the only way of saving them was to run a vial of medicine, 42 Ks, to give it to them to save their life, then I'm sure all of us could run a marathon tomorrow. We might not be in great shape at the end of it, but we'd certainly be able to do it. And so what that illustrates is it's actually the motivation that will get us over the line. And that's what I want to illustrate with that particular story. So think again about why you want to make changes. And ask yourself, maybe why did you sign up to Thrive Through Menopause, or why you are considering this particular program, what you want to get out of it, where you'll be in 6 months' time if you follow through with your goals, also maybe where you'll be if you don't. These perhaps questions or these motivating ideas will also perhaps help you with your discovering what your why is. And then once you have your why, it's really great to post it somewhere. Maybe you just want to make some post-it notes and put them on the fridge, or maybe you want to make a vision board, as I've already mentioned, and have that somewhere that you are looking at it every day. An example of this, once I was working with a lady who wanted to lose weight, and part of her why was she actually wanted to wear a ski suit skiing in 6 months' time, and that she really loved. It was a fabulous suit, and she didn't want to buy another one. She wanted to wear that one. So that was her why. And so I got her to put that ski suit in the hallway where she would walk past it a couple of times a day. And so that was her motivating factor to lose weight, which she did. So having a vision and putting it somewhere that you can see is always really, really helpful. Support is very important too, and I'm hoping that you've enrolled in this program, or you will enroll in this program with a buddy. There are bonus. There's a bonus week if you do that, on detoxification, might be of interest to you, and maybe you want to have a look at that. But if you're with a buddy, it's shown to be more motivating than if you're just trying to do something on your own. There will also be the Thrive Through Menopause program Facebook group. So maybe you want to check in with us there, and maybe you want to give us your inspirations and your aspirations, and tell us how you're going. The other thing that you might find motivating is to know that all the solutions that we're giving you and all the protocols are actually evidence-based. So you'll notice at the end of a lot of the sentences, there's a little number. Well, that means that there's a reference for that. And I'm most happy to give you any references if you would like to read them. But that simply means that all of the aspects that any of the experts are conveying to you has been researched and is evidence-based, which I believe is a very important part of the program. So that's your guarantee, if you will, of the fact that all of the information is thoroughly researched. And here's our final slide. Watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become habits. Watch your habits, they become your character. And watch your character, it becomes your destiny. So I hope that you are enjoying Orientation Week and that you're looking forward to signing up through the Thrive Through Menopause program.